Alright, so let's see how to make animations for a human avatar first. The first thing is to have a centimeter scale avatar like this, and immediately after we have our character, it can be any shape actually. Make sure on the side views that the feet are actually leaning on the floor. This is going to be important later on for the animation to be easily workable, because the height you are going to set right now is the actual default height that will make it work correctly when animating. So now the feet are on the floor, not beneath it. Right? So we can run MyAniMate. Yes, anim. And no control. Alright, so right now it is ready immediately for export. Now if I do a very simple animation here, by the way, I'm using the pre-bento skeleton just for ease of display and for, you know, not having to wait too long. So I'm gonna set a first keyframe on the rotation only for these. Okay, so key selected, then over there. And then I'm going to frame number 60. Right, I'm going to rotate. I will do just a random movement, okay, just to prove the point. Okay, so key selected, and therefore I can now run the first animation export, which is going to be just skeleton. We will see all of them later, and I will have a little bit higher priority there, and I want it to be looped as well. Right. So exporting. Now, before I actually export, let me show you something that is extremely important and useful to have the fastest evaluation. It actually works the same, but it's just faster. When we open the preferences and we go to animation, make sure you have the evaluation mode set to DG. The newly introduced serial and parallel with the using also the GPU is just slower, at least on my machine. Alright, so with that said, I'm going to export this anim. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna reset everything by deleting these keyframes. Okay, so let's see how to set up human IK for keyframe animation. So I'm going to select the animation skeleton. We have 3 skeletons for MyAniMate. We have the animation skeleton here, the hip, and the avatar skeleton over here. What you have to work with is only animation skeleton here. Okay, so with that one selected, Control G to group. Right, and I'm going to rotate this so that human IK does not complain. So I'm basically making the avatar lay down so that it faces the Z up here, and the head is pointing towards the plus Y, the positive Y. Okay, so once it is in this stance, I'm going to activate the human IK thing, and I'm going to create a character definition here. I will select the hip, Okay, and I'm gonna I'm gonna load the skeleton definition. I provided the skeleton definitions too, so I have them stored in here. Presets SL classic avatar. Okay, and just remove the name, just leave the 2 underscores. Okay, that is working now. It's all green. We have a validation status here. Lock it, and after that we can create the control rig. Good. Now that we have the control rig, we can take the center node here, just in between the feet. Okay, and we can rotate this back to how it should be to work for Second Life, so that it now has the head pointing upward to the Z axis, and the face is pointing towards the positive X. Okay, now we can start animating. Now we'll do a very simple pose. See how cool a human IK system. Right. Let's make a pose. Remember to have the knees correctly rotating to match the foot orientation. Okay, and okay, we will have this guy squat a little bit. Okay, so with this thing selected, I'm going to translate and rotate. Key selected. Frame number 60. Actually, I can use the auto keyframe. Okay, let's copy the first frame down there. Let's have him do something more. So whatever you see moving right now will be exported. So if any bone upon export doesn't have any rotation change between the first frame of your animation and 5 frames later, that will not be exported. Okay, so just make sure that you have the correct keyframing for everything that you want to actually export. Alright, so I'm going to do this too. Really stupid animation, but it's gonna work. It's gonna work for us. Okay, so as an example for the other arm, I'm gonna set this like this, and here again the same keyframe, and then start to move like that. This one will not be exported. We will see that in a second. Okay, so we can now go ahead and export this human IK underscore keyframe root. Everything's alright, and export anim. You see that this is going also faster than the actual alright, so here we are on the beta grid. So let's upload. Yeah, this is my default me. Let's upload just the skeleton. Open, upload, and play. As expected, only this arm came in, and it's doing exactly what we did. Next, HumanIK keyframe. And apparently the other arm just came in. That's okay, that's fine. We wanted the animation to come through, right? That's doing exactly the same thing. Alright. So that is how you do manual animation. This is a demonstration of the fact that it works if you use the correct skeleton. Now the skeletons here are 3. Alright, so we have the animation skeleton, which is now down here, which is the one that you should be working with. This is what you should provide a rig to. Secondly, we have the hip skeleton. This is for export, and it provides compatibility with the BBH exporter from MySR. And also this one here was structured the same way to provide compatibility. And the third one is the skeleton that actually deforms the avatar. Okay, I just changed the name for that. Alright, let's see how to attach some mockup data, some mockup animation. So I'm gonna set that to none, and then stance, so it goes back down there. The definition is still here, so all is fine. What I want to get now, let's rename this character though. So okay, so it's easier to recognize. I'm gonna set that to none, so I can import an animation example. Okay, so import animation example. It gives me an animation that was already set on a HumanIK thing. See that the import of the animation moved my cursor to a 0.8 something just earlier. You should make sure that these numbers here are never decimal, always full numbers and round numbers. How long does that last? Let's see. A little bit longer. Let's grab it all. Okay, 136. 36. Okay, so we have the full animation. It is now running at 24 FPS. That's fine. Alright, now we have this dummy fight animation. It's a regular mockup animation here. I'm going back to my avatar, and as a source, instead of stance, here we now have the dummy fight, since they have the same type of mapping. There you go. the animations can be now transferred correctly. And it also accounts for the size difference. So the steps are longer for our character, right? So the movements are adjusted accordingly. So we have the entire animation done. Cool. So once we have this thing transferred, I can just go ahead and export as it is. It doesn't really matter. If you want to edit this thing, you should then bake. So making sure you are on the avatar character, you should be bake this to the control rig in order to further modify it. I'm not gonna do this. I'm just simply going to export. Let's set this to 3. Mocap human IK. And let's do a loop. It will look really bad, but it's okay. So it runs quite faster once the change on the evaluation graph type was set to DG, which should be the dependency graph. So it just let everything run as Maya knows. It resulted to be faster for me. So I will pause the video until it's done. Alright, back to Second Life here. Let's upload the new animation mocap human IK. And there it is. Alright, so these are the main methods. Whatever you do to constrain your animation skeleton, just make sure, first of all, on during the export, even if you're using joint positions, that will be carried by your mesh. During animation, if you're just doing stands or the idle animation for a creature, whatever, do not include the joint translation. Joint translation is there in case you want to morph, make an animation to morph your avatar and move the joints somewhere else, okay, and then restart using rotation only. So this is key. The only thing that on an established character like a human or what have you that needs to have position animation is the hip. Okay, so when you go to keyframe your data here, just make sure that you have translate and rotate being keyframed on the hip, so on the root of the animation skeleton, right? And all of the others, so all of the children should never get translate keyframe. You should never start moving stuff around. The joint positions should be final, and then start rotating to animate only. Right? So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.